I was at the slide with my daughter when a little boy ran up to me. "Mister," he asked, "can I have your daughter?" Chucking it up to dumb kid talk. I just laughed. "She's my whole world, buddy. Can't just give her away." He looked me dead in the eye. "So what if she died? Would you be sad?" Then I scooped at my daughter, feeling a cold dread crawl up my spine. I've never seen this kid before. This playground was a community project. I knew pretty much every little brat who came to play here. My gut screamed that this kid was a scout for some scumbag kidnapper. I got my daughter the hell out of there. Back home, I laid down the law. Stay away from that playground for a while. Don't go near that boy. And for fuck's sake, don't take any candy from him or go anywhere with him. My daughter just nodded, her eyes wide. A few days later, my daughter drops a bombshell. She saw the boy leading the daughter of the woman who runs the bakery across the street away somewhere. She'd thought about following, but she remembered what I said and chickened out. The bakery is run by a single mom named Hannah and her 4-year-old, Katie. She's divorced and everyone in the neighborhood knows she has it tough. So we all try to look out for her. I immediately called Hannah, but the call went straight to voicemail. She must have been out on a cake delivery. About an hour and a half later, Hannah burst into my diner like a goddamn hurricane. Wild-eyed and frantic, she grabbed my daughter by the shoulders. "Where's Katie? Tell me." My daughter was so scared, she could barely speak. I told Hannah to call 911 right away, then went with her to search. But the trail went cold. The second they crossed the main road, the cops were on it fast. Using my description and footage from nearby security cameras, they found the boy that same night. His name was Leo. Leo swore up and down he hadn't taken Katie. His parents backed him up, flying through their teeth that their son had been home all day. The cops showed them the surveillance footage, blowing their bullshit story to pieces. That's when Leo, the little shit, finally mumbled, "I'm not 12 yet, so I don't have to go to jail, right?" Leo LED us to a derelict construction site nearby and pointed to a small freshly dug pit in the ground. "She's in there." The cops dug away the loose dirt and found a styrofoam cooler, kind you get from Amazon deliveries. They pried the lid open. Katie was crammed inside, curled into a ball. Her eyes were wide open, her mouth slightly agape, her face a mask of pure terror. Hannah just fucking broke. She lunged at Leo, trying to tear him apart, but the cops managed to hold her back. The police had Leo recount the whole thing. His clarity, his step-by-step logic sent a fucking icicle through my heart. Leo said he found the pit at the construction site and got the idea to bury something alive in it. First he tried a stray cat, but it scratched its way out, immediately a failure. So Leo switched his target to a kid, but the hole was too small. So the little psychopath tied 2 shoelaces together to measure the pit's dimensions. Whenever he found a potential target, he'd measure them with a shoelace first before trying to snatch them. He also said he only picked little girls. They were easier to control. And he added, their bodies are softer, easier to fold. "Did you kill her first, then put her in?" one of the cops asked. His voice tight, Leo shook his head. "I had her lie down in it herself." He'd set up a sick game. First, he had Katie lie down in a couple of big cardboard boxes and gave her chocolates, making her think it was all for fun. Then he told her to get into the styrofoam cooler he placed in the pit. Katie, trusting him completely, did it without a second thought. Once she was in, I put the wooden board over the top, stacked a few bricks on it, and started burying it. Leo said Katie started struggling, so he jumped on top of the board and stomped on it a few times until she stopped moving. Hannah didn't even make it through the whole story before she collapsed. The cops rushed her to the hospital. I overheard one of the veteran cops muttering, "Jesus fucking Christ." All my years on the force, I've never seen an animal like this. If his parents weren't here, I'd beat the shit out of this little fucker myself. Once word got out about what happened to Katie, the whole neighborhood was up in arms. People kept coming to me asking for Leo's address, wanting to get some payback for Hannah. But the law protects the privacy of juvenile offenders. The cops made it crystal clear. If I leaked any of Leo's personal information, I'd be held liable. A few days later, Hannah came to my diner sobbing. The DA was dropping the case. The reason Leo was under 12. No criminal liability. The police had no choice but to close the case according to the law. I was fucking speechless. Leo murdered a child. And he wouldn't even see the inside of a courtroom, let alone a jail cell. What kind of justice is that? The cop said even if I sue, the prosecutor won't take the case. Most I can do is file a civil suit for damages against his parents. But what amount of money can bring my daughter back? Oh, who can give me justice for her? Hannah cried so hard it looked like her eyes were bleeding. To make matters a million times worse, Leo's parents wouldn't even apologize. They just stopped answering Hannah's calls. Even when the police tried to mediate, They just said they were busy. No time to deal with her. My wife. Her. Heartbreaking for Hannah. Made her some soup. We're all mothers, she said softly. Some things happen and there's nothing anyone can do. You're still young. You can meet someone. Have another baby. Think of it as Katie coming back to you. Hannah's voice was a raw whisper. Can't get over it. Every time I close my eyes, I hear her crying, telling me she can't rest in peace. My heart feels like it's been stabbed 100 fucking times. We're all parents. We felt her pain in our bones. We convinced her to at least claim Katie's body and arrange the funeral. Could think about lawsuits later. The wake was held in her bakery. All the neighbors came. It was just an endless loop of empty condolences. Hannah cried until she had nothing left, numb to everything. During the gathering, Frank from the barbecue joint said that maybe Hannah should have been more careful. And a bunch of the women fucking eviscerated him. Why don't you try watching a kid for one day, you asshole? You think we don't have to eat or piss? Big Tony the butcher chain smoked, his face grim. If this happened to my kid, I got that little bastard myself. Jail time be damned. It's a damn shame. A good woman like Hannah doesn't have a man to go to bat for her. Hannah doesn't have much family. So my wife and I helped out where we could. My daughter Lily was playing near the door. I called her over, telling her not to wander off. Just nodded silently. I thought that was weird. Usually she'd argue back. Today she was a perfect little angel. Then she grinned, and my blood ran cold. I saw the chocolate smeared on her teeth. We banned her from sweets because of her cavities. Did Hannah give you that? She shook her head. A boy gave it to me. What boy? The one who took Katie, he said. Katie didn't finish. These wave of pure cold terror washed over me. I immediately handed Lily to my wife and told her, watch her. Don't let her out of your sight for a single fucking second. I got a few guys together, and we searched the area. But there was no sign of Leo. The little shit had vanished. The more I thought about it, the more I panicked. What if Leo had just grabbed my daughter instead? Found another little ditch and buried her? 2. I absolutely could not let that happen. That night, I secretly told Hannah that Leo had approached my daughter. Her eyes blazed with fury. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. Next time you tell me sooner, I'll kill him myself. I looked at the black and white photo of Katie, her little toothy smile frozen in time. I made a decision. Do you really want revenge? I asked quietly. I have a way, and I can make sure you don't go to jail for it. Hannah didn't hesitate for a second. She agreed. So I had my daughter play outside like normal, while Hannah and I took turns watching from the shadows, waiting for Leo. We kept this up for almost a month. Finally, I saw him, the sneaky little fuck, lurking around the playground again. I called Lily, told her to head home now. Just as I predicted, Leo started following her. I was right behind him in my van on a street with no cameras. I snatched him. I took him to the warehouse behind Hannah's bakery. She was waiting. A photo of Katie on a small table, with a stick of incense burning in front of it. It's okay, sweetie, she whispered to the photo. Mommy's going to help you rest now. Leo was crying and struggling. Mister, Mom. I'm just a kid. How can you hurt a kid? The air in the warehouse smelled of stale flour, rat droppings, and the metallic tang of fear. Leo was zip-tied to a heavy steel chair we'd dragged in from the back office. For a moment, the silence was absolute, broken only by the hum of the industrial freezer and Hannah's ragged breathing. Please, Leo whimpered, tears cutting clean tracks through the grime on his cheeks. I want my mommy. My dad's a lawyer. He'll sue you. He'll put you in jail forever. Hannah stepped forward. She looked like a specter. Her apron was still on, dusted with white flour, looking like grave dirt. She picked up the photo of Katie. You didn't let her go when she cried, did you, Leo? I didn't mean to. Leo screamed, thrashing against the ties. It was a game. I told the police. I'm just a kid. I stepped out of the shadows. I needed to see it. I needed to see the thing that looked like a child but acted like a demon. Cut the shit, Leo. Leo froze. His head snapped toward me. The sobbing stopped instantly. It was like someone hit a switch. The trembling ceased. His face smoothed out, the terrified contortion relaxing into a bored, dead-eyed stare. He let out a sigh, rolling his neck as if he were stiff from sitting too long. Okay, Leo said. His voice had dropped an octave. No more squeaky kid voice. Worth a shot. Adults are usually so stupid when I cry. A chill, colder than any winter wind, swept through the room. Hannah took a step back, her hand covering her mouth. You're not going to kill me, Leo said, looking around the warehouse with mild interest. You don't have the stomach for it. You're a diner cook and she's a baker. You're prey. You're not predators. You killed my baby, Hannah whispered, her voice trembling with a rage so potent it felt like it could shatter the concrete floor. I broke a toy, Leo corrected her, looking her dead in the eye. And she wasn't very well made. She stopped moving way too fast. The cat lasted longer. Hannah screamed, a raw, animal sound, and lunged. I caught her round the waist, hauling her back. She kicked and clawed, trying to get to him, but Leo didn't even flinch. He just watched her, a faint smirk playing on his lips. See,
Leo said to me.
She's emotional, unstable. You need to let me go, mister. Because if you don't, my dad is going to check the GPS on my phone. I felt my heart skip a beat. I patted his pockets. Empty.
Leo laughed.
A dry, rasping sound. I didn't bring it. I'm not an idiot.
But he knows I came this way.
You have maybe 2 hours before the cops knock on your door. And unlike me, you guys can go to prison. I walked up to him, grabbed the collar of his shirt, and leaned in close. You think you're smart, you little mistake? You think, because the law let you go, you're untouchable? I know I am, Leo whispered.
I'm 12.
I'm a minor. I'm a victim of bad parenting and societal failure. I'll do therapy until I'm 18 and then I'll be out. And you know what I'm going to do then? He looked over my shoulder at the door where I'd left my van. I'm going to find Lily. The world went red. The next thing I knew, my fist had connected with his jaw. The chair tipped over, crashing to the floor with Leo still strapped to it. He spat out a mouthful of blood and a small white tooth. He looked up at me from the floor, grinning through the blood. She likes chocolate too, right? That's it, I said, my voice sounding distant, like it was coming from someone else. I looked at Hannah. She had stopped crying. The weakness was gone. Her eyes were hard, flat stones. Get the mixer, she said. We didn't use the mixer. That would have been too loud, too messy. But Hannah had something else. The bakery was undergoing renovations. In the back corner of the warehouse, there was a section of the concrete floor that had been jackhammered up to fix a sewage pipe. The hole was deep, about 6 feet, and the contractors weren't due back until Monday. It was Friday night. We stood at the edge of the pit. The dark earth smelled damp and heavy. It fits, Hannah said. Her voice was devoid of humanity now. She was functioning on pure mechanics. We dragged Leo, chair and all, to the edge. He wasn't smiling anymore. He realized this wasn't a scare tactic. He started thrashing, the chair legs scraping violently against the concrete.
No.
No, wait.
Elite.
I lied about Lily. I won't touch her. His voice cracked, pitching up into high, desperate shrieks. I'll tell you where the others are. I froze. I signaled Hannah to wait. What others? Leo was hyperventilating, snot bubbling from his nose. The pets. And the homeless guy. The one who sleeps under the bridge. I pushed him. He didn't fall, I pushed him. I can show you. Jesus Christ. I muttered. He was bargaining with more bodies. You can't bury me, Leo screamed. It's dark. I hate the dark. So did Katie, Hannah said softly. She shoved the chair. Leo went over the edge. He didn't scream on the way down, just a sharp intake of breath, followed by a sickening crunch as the metal chair hit the bottom of the pit, tipping onto its side. He started wailing immediately, a hollow, echoing sound rising from the earth. My leg is broken. Mommy. Hannah picked up a shovel. She looked at me. Go keep watch out front. If anyone comes, stall them. Hannah, I can't leave you two.
Go, she hissed.
This is for Katie. I need to do the first part. I went to the loading dock door, cracking it open just an inch. The alley was quiet. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I lit a cigarette with shaking hands, trying to calm my nerves. Every shadow looked like a police officer. Every sound was a siren. From behind me, in the depths of the warehouse, I heard the rhythmic shhh thud of dirt hitting the pit. Shathud.
I'm sorry.
Shathud. Please, it's in my eyes. Shathud. I smoked the cigarette down to the filter until it burned my fingers. Then I lit another.
The screaming down in the pit changed.
It went from demands to begging, then to animalistic howling, and finally, to muffled, choking sobs. It took 3 hours. When I finally went back inside, Hannah was sitting on a stack of flour sacks, staring at the patch of fresh dirt. The hole was filled. She had dragged heavy bags of quick-dry cement over the top and mixed it with water from the hose, smoothing it over. By morning, it would be a hard, gray scar on the floor. Is he? I couldn't finish the sentence. He stopped crying about 20 minutes ago, she said.
She didn't look at me.
She looked at her hands. They were blistered and raw. It was too quick. It was still too quick.
We have to go, I said.
We have to clean up. We spent the next hour bleaching the floor where the chair had scraped, wiping down the door handles, and burning the zip ties that we hadn't used. I took Leo's shoes, which Hannah had removed before the burial, and put them in a bag. I tossed them in a dumpster 3 towns over. As we walked out of the bakery, locking the heavy steel door, Hannah turned to me. She looked 10 years older than she had that morning.
Thank you, she said. Don't, I replied.
Never speak of this. Not to me. Not to yourself. It never happened. The panic started Sunday evening. Leo's parents had waited. They thought he was out with friends, or maybe they just didn't care enough to check until the streetlights came on. By Monday morning, the police were knocking on doors. I was flipping pancakes at the diner when Officer Miller came in. He looked tired. He was one of the good ones, the one who had muttered about beating Leo himself. "Morning, Jack," he said, sitting at the counter. "Morning, Miller. Coffee." I poured him a cup. My hand was steady. I was surprised by how steady it was. I had locked the horror away in a box in my mind, buried just as deep as Leo. "You haven't seen that kid, have you?"
La?
Miller asked, blowing on the steam. "The killer?" I scoffed. "If I saw him, I'd probably be in a cell right now for assault." "Why?" "Missing. Parents say he went for a walk Friday and never came back." Miller took a sip. He watched me over the rim of the cup. "You have an alibi for Friday night, Jack?"
Working, I said.
"Closed up at 9.
Went home.
Watched a movie with the wife." "You can ask her." "And Hannah?" I didn't blink. How the hell should I know? Probably crying in her bakery, like she does every night. Miller sighed. "Look, Jack, I know what that kid did. And between you and me, if he's gone, the world's a cleaner place. But I have to do my job. His father is breathing down the chief's neck, threatening lawsuits, calling the media. Says the vigilante mob of this neighborhood hurt his angel." "Let him talk," I said, scraping the griddle. "Kid probably ran away. Realized nobody here wants him breathing our air." The investigation lasted 2 weeks. They brought dogs. The dogs sniffed around the playground, around the diner, and yes, around the bakery. I was standing outside when the K-9 unit circled Hannah's warehouse. My blood turned to ice. Hannah was inside kneading dough. She didn't look up. The dog stopped at the back door. It whined. It scratched at the metal. The handler pulled the leash. Something dead nearby. Probably a rat. Place is full of food. They moved on. I almost collapsed. The cement. The heavy industrial sense of yeast and bleach. It had masked him. Leo's parents went on TV. They held up photos of Leo, school photos where he looked innocent, not the cold-eyed shark I knew. They called us savages. They accused the neighborhood of harboring a murderer. But they had no proof. No body.
No weapon. No witnesses.
Leo was just gone. A month passed. The heat died down. The neighborhood quietly celebrated. There was a grim satisfaction in the air. People looked at Hannah with a different kind of pity now, a respectful silence. They thought she was healing. But I knew better. I stopped by the bakery late one Tuesday to drop off some invoices. The lights were off, but I heard a sound from the back. Thump, thump, thump. I walked through the kitchen to the warehouse. Hannah was standing in the center of the room, staring at the floor. The new concrete had cured perfectly. She had stacked flour sacks over it, but she had moved them aside now. "Hannah." She jumped, spinning around. Her eyes were wild, rimmed with red. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Do you hear it?" she whispered. "Hear what?"
Him.
He's scratching. He's scratching at the lid." I walked over and grabbed her shoulders. "Hannah, stop.
He's dead.
He's been dead for weeks. There is no air down there. No food. He is gone." "I hear him," she insisted, her nails digging into my arms. "He whispers. He tells me he's hungry. He tells me." She choked back a sob. "He tells me Katie is down there with him. That he's hurting her again." "That's in your head," I said firmly, though the hair on my arm stood up. "Katie is in the cemetery. Leo is in hell. This is just concrete." "I need to dig him up," she said, reaching for a crowbar she had set on the table. "I need to make sure."
No.
I wrestled the bar from her. "You crack that floor, you go to prison. You think Leo's dad isn't waiting for a slip-up? You think he isn't watching this place?" I held her until she stopped shaking. We were bound by this secret, 2 soldiers in a war nobody else knew was happening. But the war was eating her alive. "Go home, Hannah. Take a sleeping pill. I'll watch the store." She left, a ghost of a woman. I stood alone in the warehouse. I listened. Silence. Just the hum of the freezer. Then faint. Barely there. Scratch. I froze. I held my breath. Scratch. Scratch. It was coming from the floor. I dropped to my knees, pressing my ear to the cold concrete. It was impossible.
Scientifically, biologically impossible.
Scratch. And then a giggle. A muffled, distorted giggle that sounded like it was filtering up through 6 feet of dirt and rock. "Found you," I scrambled back, falling onto my ass.
I stared at the spot.
It was silent again. I ran out of there and didn't look back. I told myself it was the pipes.
Rats.
Stress. Anything but the truth. 3 months later. The case was cold. Leo was officially a missing person, likely runaway. It was a rainy Tuesday. The diner was empty except for Old Man Jenkins in the corner. The bell above the door chimed. A man walked in. He was tall, wearing an expensive suit that was wet at the shoulders. He had Leo's eyes. Leo's father. Mr. Vance. I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. Kitchen's closed, I said. Mr. Vance didn't look at the menu. He walked straight to the counter and sat on a stool. He looked terrible. Hollow cheeks, gray skin. He looked like a man who was being eaten from the inside out. I'm not hungry, he said. His voice was raspy.
Get out, I said. I know you did it, Vance said.
He didn't say it with anger. He said it with exhaustion. I don't know what you're talking about. Vance laughed, a dry, bitter sound. He reached into his jacket pocket. I tensed, grabbing the handle of my knife under the counter. He pulled out an envelope and slid it across the counter. What's this?
Leo's diary, Vance said.
We found it under the floorboards in his room.
I stared at the envelope.
I read it, Vance whispered. He looked up at me and I saw something I didn't expect. I saw fear. I read what he did to that little girl. And the cat. And the others. He leaned in closer. Did you know he planned to kill me? Me and his mother. He had it mapped out. The Inheritance Project, he called it. He was poisoning our coffee. Just a little bit at a time. Antifreeze. I stayed silent. My wife, she's sick. Kidneys failing. We thought it was just bad luck. Vance wiped his face. I defended him. I used every favor I had to keep him out of jail. I thought he was just misunderstood. I thought I could fix him. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. You didn't kill a child, Mr. Jack. You killed a cancer. He turned to the door. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Vance paused with his hand on the door. Because the police are coming back tomorrow. They got a tip about the renovations at the bakery. An anonymous caller said they saw you carrying a body in there. My heart stopped. Who called? Vance looked at me, his eyes dead. I did. What? I'm a lawyer, Jack. I believe in the law. Even if my son was a monster, you broke the law. He smiled, a sad, broken smile. But I also believe in fair warnings. You have tonight. That's it. If there's anything there, move it. If not, well, good luck. He walked out into the rain. I called Hannah. No answer. I ran to the bakery. The door was unlocked. Hannah. I found her in the warehouse. She had a sledgehammer. The floor was a mess of cracked concrete and dust. She had already broken through the top layer. He told me. She screamed when she saw me. He told me they were coming. He laughed at me. Hannah, we have to move him. Vance called the cops. They'll be here in the morning. We worked like madmen. We broke the rest of the seal.
We dug.
We dug through the dirt we had packed down months ago. My hands bled. My back screamed. We hit the wood of the makeshift crate we'd thrown down there to cover him. Help me lift it. We hauled the rotted wood and the remains out of the pit. The smell was indescribable. I retched, pulling my shirt over my nose. The van, I choked out. We take him to the marsh. Sink him. We dragged the bundle to my van. I threw it in the back. Hannah was shaking so hard she could barely stand. I can't go, she said. I can't be with him anymore.
Go home, I said.
Clean this mess up.
Pour nous concrète.
I'll handle this. I drove into the night. I drove for 2 hours, deep into the state forest, to a swamp I used to fish in. I tied cinder blocks to the bundle. I waded out into the black, sucking mud. I pushed Leo into the depths. The water swallowed him with a gurgle. I drove back, bleached the van, and burned my clothes. When the police arrived the next morning with a warrant and jackhammers, they found a freshly poured floor at the bakery. They tore it up. They dug down 6 feet. They found nothing but dirt. Vance watched from the street. When the police chief shook his head, Vance just lowered his head and walked away. He looked defeated. Or maybe relieved. A year later, life had returned to a semblance of normal. Hannah had sold the bakery and moved away. She couldn't stand the smell of the place anymore. I didn't blame her. She sent me a card on Christmas. No return address. Just found some peace. Hope you have too. I tried to be a good father. I watched Lily like a hawk. But I was changing. The darkness of what I did lived in my gut. I had a temper now. I drank more. One afternoon, I was in the backyard watching Lily play. She was 7 now. She was drawing with chalk on the patio. Whatcha a drawing, sweetie? I asked, sipping a beer. A castle, she said. And the king. I looked at the drawing. It was a crude stick figure of a man with a crown. But next to the man was a box. A black square. What's in the box? I asked, a sudden unease pricking my neck. Lily didn't look up. She kept coloring. That's where the bad boy lives. I froze. What bad boy?
Leo, she said.
I dropped my beer. It shattered on the stones. Lily, why do you know that name? We never talk about him. She turned to me. Her face was innocent, her eyes wide and blue. But for a split second, just a fraction of a moment, I saw a flicker of something else. Something cold. He talks to me, she said matter-of-factly. He talks to you? I whispered, falling to my knees to be at her level. Honey, Leo is gone. He went away a long time ago. No, she shook her head. He didn't go away. You put him in the water. But he came back. I grabbed her shoulders, harder than I meant to. How do you know about the water? Who told you that? Lily giggled. It was the same giggle I had heard in the warehouse. He tells me everything, Daddy. He says he likes the water better than the dirt. But he's lonely. She reached into her pocket. My breath caught in my throat. She pulled out a shoelace. 2 shoelaces, tied together. He taught me a game, Lily said, holding up the knotted string. Do you want to play? I stared at the shoelace. I stared at my beautiful, innocent daughter. And I realized then that the pit hadn't been deep enough. The swamp hadn't been deep enough. Evil isn't a body you can bury. It's a seed. And Leo had planted it before he died. Lily, I choked out. Give me that. She pulled her hand back, her smile widening, stretching just a little too wide for her face.
No, she said.
I need to measure first. The neighbor's cat is in the garage. She stood up and skipped away toward the garage, humming a tune. I sat there on the patio, the shattered glass of the beer bottle glistening around me like diamonds. I looked at the chalk drawing of the black box. And I realized the nightmare wasn't over. It was just beginning.